This is the page. All right, we'll start with the adverb clauses of time. This is a few little sections about this. The adverb clauses of time. We'll look at the form. When the phone rang, the baby woke up. When the phone rang is an adverb clause of time. An adverb clause is one kind of dependent clause. A dependent clause must be attached to an independent or main clause. In A, the baby woke up is the main clause. This is the sentence. The main verb, the main subject. When the phone rang is a dependent clause. It's actually telling you the time, right? It's, I could say at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock the baby woke up. But I can also construct a small clause, which is called an adverb clause. It's incorrect to say when the phone rang, the baby woke up, because when keeps that part of the phrase in a situation of dependency. The phone rang, the baby woke up. Okay, this is also possible. B is incorrect because the adverb clause is not connected. In C, even though it's correct, there is no adverb clause. The two main clauses are both independent sentences. And this is one of the problems of a more basic or intermediate English, is that you are not making longer, more complex sentences, or you're not managing them. So this will give you an opportunity to get that straight. Okay, so D, when the phone rang, the baby woke up. The baby woke up when the phone rang. D and E have the same meaning. An adverb clause can come in the front of a clause, like in D, or it can follow the main clause as in E. The baby woke up when the phone rang. Notice that the comma is used to separate the two clauses when the adverb clause comes first. Okay, this dependent clause needs to be separated. While if you just say the baby woke up, and you add this extra information is considered like a complement, so it's you don't have to put it into a comma. Using adverb clauses to show time relationships. Okay, let's look at these very quickly. We have after. After she graduates, she will get a job. After she graduated, or after she had graduated, she got a job. Before, very similar. I will leave before he comes. D, I left before he came, or I had left before he came. A present tense, not a future tense, is used in the adverb clause of time, as in examples A and C. She graduates. Okay, this is will here. Only once do we use the future in a sentence like this. We don't say after she will graduate. I will leave before he comes, not before he will come. Common mistake. When I arrived, he was talking on the phone. F, when I got there, he had already left. When it began to rain, I stood under a tree. When I was in Chicago, I visited the museums. When I see him tomorrow, I will ask him. Okay, when means at that time. Notice the different time relationships expressed by the tenses. When I arrived, simple past. He was talking, past progressive. When I got there, simple past. He had already left. So this is like saying before I got there. Before. When it began to rain, simple present. I stood under a tree, simple past. When I was in Chicago, simple past. I visited the museum. When I see him tomorrow, I will ask him, present tense with the future. We have while. While I was walking home, it began to rain. This is a partner of G. When it began to rain. No, I was walking. Well, here. When I arrived, he was talking on the phone. While I was walking home, it began to rain. Those, you see that the while is with the progressive and the when is with the simple past. We don't say when he was talking on the phone, I arrived, although it's not a grave mistake. All right, as I was walking home, it began to rain. As has the idea of while during that time. By the time, this is a little bit tricky, try to understand this. By the time he arrived, we had already left. By the time he comes, we will have already left. By the time means that one event is completed before another event. Notice the use of the past perfect and the future perfect, because by is a perfect tense. It's a perfect time. It's not really a specific moment. It's just saying that one event is completed before another. We don't know when. By the time he arrived, we don't know. We had already left. If we left at 5 o'clock, maybe he arrived at 5 minutes to 5. Maybe he arrived at 4 o'clock. We really don't know, so it's not very specific. That's the reason that it's perfect. Since. I haven't seen him since he left this morning. Oh, I've known her ever since I was a child. Since means from that time to the present. In from that time to the present. In In ever adds emphasis. Ever since I was a child, you could just say I've known her since I was a child. Present perfect is used in the main clause. Okay, since is very clearly in this way, and when you're using it in this way, it's a perfect signal. Until, we stayed there until we finished our work. Until is like from that moment the action stops. It's quite different than by the time. By the time it is completed, but here the action actually goes until we finished the work. We stayed there until. Okay, they're actually quite opposite. Until is similar to until, just spelled differently. We stayed there till we finished our work. Until to that time and then no longer. Till is used more in speaking than in writing, is generally not used in formal English. As soon as it stops raining, we will leave. Okay, we saw as before. As I was walking, that had the idea of while. Here, instead, it's as soon as. That's like a condition. In fact, this is the first conditional. Also, the when it stops. If it stops, we will leave. When it stops, we will leave. As soon as it stops, we will leave. Once it stops raining, we will leave. As soon as and once. When one event happens, another event happens soon afterwards. They're linked. As long as. I will never speak to him again as long as I live. So long as. I will never speak to him again so long as I live. As long as and so long as means during all of that time from the beginning to the end. Okay, so as long as I live is a time. It's my time span, let's say from birth to death. And so in the future, I will never speak to him again as long as that condition exists. This is also like a conditional. Whenever I see her, I say hello. Every time I see her, I say hello. Whenever is the same as every time. The first time, X. The first time that I went to New York, I went to an opera. The first time I went to New York, I went to an opera. I saw 2 plays the last time that I went to New York, the last time, and the next time. The next time that I go to New York, I'm going to see a ballet. Adverb clauses can be introduced by the following. You have the first, the second, the third, the last, the next, and then time that, sometime that. So the second time that I did something, I went, so you have the next time, the last time, the first, the second, the third. Okay, you could do exercises 1 and 2 if you have that access. We're going to look at the final ES, the pronunciation and spelling. Seems quite simple. Just to review, a final S or an ES is added to a noun to make the noun plural. So, friends are important. We have friend, which is a noun. The plural form is friends. We have nouns that also take ES. For example, in a class that ends with an S, we say I like my classes. Friend is singular, friends is plural. Sorry, friend is singular, friends is plural. The verb plus S, Mary works at a bank, so John watches birds. With the CH, we have to add ES. A final S or an ES is added to simple present verb when the subject is a singular noun, for example, Mary, my father, the machine, or a third-person singular pronoun, he, she, it. Third-person S. Mary works is singular, she works is singular, the student's work is plural, no S. They work, plural, no S. For most words, whether a verb or a noun, simply add an S is added. Simply add a final S. Simply add a final S. Simply add a final S. Simply a final S is added. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Simply a final S is added to spell the word correctly. Sing, sings, song, songs. Final ES, words that end in SH, CH, S, Z, and X. Wash, washes. Watch, watches. Class, classes. Buzz, buzzes. Box, boxes. For words that end in Y, we just add an S. Toys, buy, buys, baby, babies. Okay, when we have the preceded by a consonant, we have to add the I. Substitute the Y for the I and add ES. Cry, cries, both for the noun and the verb. So if a vowel is preceded by if the Y is preceded by a vowel, only an S is added. If the Y is preceded by a consonant, we change the Y to I and add ES. You can do exercises 4 and 5 now. Basic subject-verb agreement. Now this is where things get a little bit more difficult. Singular verbs, we have an S or the ES, third person singular in the simple present tense. My friend lives in Boston, as we saw before. We have a plural verb, noun plus the S and the ES is the plural. My friends live in Boston, so we have a plural noun, live, which is third person plural, my friends. In the exception that we have every and each are followed immediately by singular nouns, in this case even when there are two or more nouns connected by and the verb is singular. So every man, woman, and child needs love, because we're talking about every, it's a singular concept. Each book and magazine is listed, is singular. Sometimes a phrase or clause separates the subject from a verb. These interrupting structures do not affect basic agreement. For example, in G, the interrupting prepositional phrase on political parties does not change the fact that the verb is must agree with the subject book. Book is. In K and L, the subject and verb are separated by an adjective clause. Okay, this is one of the problems when you start to make sentences that are longer. If you lose track of the verb, the noun, you may lose track of how you agree the verb. That book on political parties is interesting. Okay, even if we are talking about parties, we have a singular idea because the subject is the book. My dog, as well as cats, likes cat food. My dog likes cat food, as well as doesn't really affect this agreement. The book that I got from my parents was very interesting. Okay, still talking about a book, and it's singular, so was. The plural verb, the ideas in that book are interesting. Okay, here we have ideas, that's plural, so are. My dogs, as well as my cat, like cat food. My dogs, not my cat. The books I bought at the bookstore were expensive. Books. A gerund used as a subject of the sentence requires a singular verb. Growing flowers is her hobby. Growing flowers is. Okay, let's look a little bit more at the subject-verb agreement using expressions of quantity. In most expressions of quantity, the verb is determined by the noun or the pronoun that follows of. For example, some of plus a singular noun, a singular verb. Some of plus a plural noun takes a plural verb. Examples: some of the book is good. The book is singular. Some of the books are good. Books is plural. A lot of the equipment is new. Equipment, uncountable, singular, is. A lot of my friends are here, plural. 2/3 of the money is mine. 2/3, that gives an idea of a singular because we have a uncountable 2/3 of the money. Instead, if I say 2/3 of the pennies are mine, you see I'm talking about pennies. It's very similar to some. When the object of the subject is singular, you use a singular. When the object is plural, you use a plural. The exceptions: one of, each of, every one of take singular verbs. One of, each of, and every one of plus plural noun equals a singular verb. So one of my friends is here because one is the subject. Each of my friends is here, each singular. Every one of my friends is here, each one is singular. Subjects with none of are considered singular in very formal English, but plural verbs are often used in informal speech writing. None of the boys is here. None of the boys are here. Okay, I would say that probably it's much more common to say that none of the boys are here, but this is a typical English rule. We have kind of exceptions, and we have the common use, which could be more important than understanding a kind of formal rule. None of the boys are here. None of the boys is here. Sounds very strange. In L, the number is the subject. In M, a number of. Expression of quantity means a lot of. It's followed by a plural noun and a plural verb. So the number of is an expression of quantity meaning a lot of. A lot of students in the class. The number is 15. While a number, okay, the number is the subject. The number, singular, is. A number, like a lot of, students were late. Okay. Subject-verb agreement, some irregularities. We already saw some. Singular verb, sometimes a proper noun that ends in S is singular. In the examples, if the noun is changed to a pronoun, the singular pronoun is used, not the plural pronoun they, because the noun is singular. In A, the United States is it, not they. The United States is big. It is big. The Philippines consists of more than 7,000 islands. Philippines, plural, but we have the singular noun because it's considered one. The United Nations has its headquarters in New York City. United Nations seems to be plural, but it's really singular. Harrods is a department store. That's the proper name. Harrods has an S, but it's not plural. News is singular. The news is interesting. That's a common mistake. Always singular. Fields of study that end in ix require singular verbs. So mathematics is easy for her. Physics is easy for her too. Certain illnesses that end in s are singular. Diabetes, measles, mumps, rabies, rickets, and shingles. Those are all considered singular. Sorry, just joking. Expressions of time, money, and distance usually require a singular verb. 8 hours of sleep is enough. That's an expression of time. 4 hours, you would say, are. But if you're considering it like an expression of time, like a unit, then it becomes singular. $10 is too much to pay. 5,000 miles is too far to travel. Arithmetic expressions require singular verbs. 2 and 2 is 4. 2 and 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 is or equals 4. 5 times 5 is 25. People, police, and cattle do not end in s, but they are plural nouns and require plural verbs. English is spoken in many countries. The English drink tea. Okay, English, we're talking about the language English, and instead the English, we're talking about the English people. That would be plural. English is the language, the English people from England. Some nouns of nationality end in sh, ese, and ch can mean either language or people. For example, English, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Portuguese, French. Okay, these are both the language and the people, so you have to distinguish with the. The French drink tea. Not really, but maybe some. A few adjectives can be preceded by the and used, can be preceded by the and used as a plural noun without the final s to refer to people who have that quality. For example, the young, the elderly, the living, the dead, the blind, the deaf, the disabled. So these are people that have the quality of the word. So young people, you could just say the young. All right, you could do exercises 9 and 10.